A few years ago, I worked at a pharmacy. It was never really too busy, so I usually had some downtime throughout the day. I remember one day, it was during one of those quiet times, when I noticed a sound coming from the roof. I hadn't heard anything coming from the roof before, so I didn't immediately recognize what it was. Suddenly, I heard a crashing sound. It sounded like something had fallen. And then there was a pigeon in the pharmacy. I guess it had fallen in from the roof somehow. I immediately started to feel scared and really sick to my stomach because I was pretty afraid of birds. Well, actually, I was pretty afraid of most animals, but the fact that this bird was now in such a small, confined space with me made me feel even more uncomfortable. I thought about how horrifying it would be if the bird were to start flying around the pharmacy, or worse, if it landed on my head. I knew that I couldn't continue working with such a distraction, so I went to the pharmacist's office and I explained to him how this wasn't safe for the patients and it wasn't safe for me either. At first, he kind of laughed and then asked if I was scared of it. I was honest and said that I was. He replied by saying that he would come out and handle the situation. So I left his office and went back out to the front of the pharmacy. When I got there, I looked up and saw that the pigeon wasn't where it was. I looked all around, but I couldn't see it anywhere. I then heard a thumping noise coming from the roof. It was the same thumping noise from earlier. I sighed in relief. The bird must have went back into the roof. I then continued working until the end of my shift. The next day, I was horrified to see that the bird was right back where I had seen it yesterday. At first, I tried to ignore it. I knew I had to stay calm and professional, so I went back to work and tried to ignore the bird. But then the bird started to flap its wings, and then it started to fly. The bird was flying in the pharmacy. I knew I had to get out of there as soon as possible. I got up off my chair and walked as fast as I could to the pharmacist's office. I explained to him what was going on. He then immediately got off of his chair and went to the front of the pharmacy. I was too scared to go back out there, so I stayed in his office for a good 10 minutes before finally walking out to see what had happened. I ended up finding the pharmacist outside. He was facing a cardboard box. I could see that the box was moving a bit, so I figured that the pharmacist must have managed to somehow get the pigeon into the box. I asked the pharmacist how he managed to get the pigeon in the box. He joked and said that he was good with animals and just knew what to do. I laughed and was relieved that I could now go back to work without having to worry about a pigeon in the pharmacy. I ended up leaving the job about a few months later, but while I was there, thankfully, we never did have another pigeon fiasco.